All right, I just want to thank everybody who is attending virtually as well as in person today for joining us for our first Parent University, formerly known as Parent University, but what I'd like to do is kind of rebrand this time as ParentConnect, because what it really is, the purpose of this time is for us as a school and for you as parents to connect with us and for us to connect with you. So the goal is that we are sharing information with you, you're sharing information with us, be it questions, comments, concerns, or just some specific supports that you need. So this is ParentConnect, and today's topic is self-improvement. The topics for each month align with the mental health awareness topics month to month as well. So self-improvement is something that we're focusing on for the month of September. And I think as I was prepping for this, I kind of wanted to be able to differentiate it a little bit and recognize that self-improvement can mean a lot of different things to different people. So what I'd like to start with are the myths and pitfalls. Then we'll kind of talk about why does self-improving matter? How do we do it? What are the 8 dimensions of wellness and how do they relate to improving oneself? And finally, we will end with some additional resources for further understanding and knowledge. All right, so as I said, self-improvement can mean different things to different people. We are all individuals, we are all unique, we all have our own personal needs, experiences, and desires. And so when we talk about self-improvement, we have to understand that it is differentiated and it is individual. So what works for one person isn't necessarily gonna work for everybody. So it's important to have understanding in that regard. But just as a general definition, self-improvement for our purposes would be defined as where an individual feels an increase in their overall sense of happiness, peace, and productivity more consistently and for a greater amount of time. So we may feel those things at times, but the goal is that we're increasing the amount that we feel satisfied with our lives on a day-to-day basis. All right, so I have this image up here, and for anyone who has flown on an airplane before, what does this image kind of speak to you about or remind you of?
I need to save my life.
Okay, saving your life. Yeah, definitely. This is a tool that we use to in an emergency situation to save lives. If anybody has heard the stewardess giving her chat before the plane takes off, what is something that they tell you about the oxygen masks once they deploy? What are you supposed to do?
Make sure you put it on yourself first before whoever you are accompanied with.
That's right. You're always supposed to put that on yourself before you put it on someone who's accompanying you, like a child. And the reason that I say that and the reason that image speaks to this need of self-improvement is if we're not taking care of ourselves, we cannot provide supports to the people that are dependent on us and that need it. So a lot of times I think as parents, working parents, spouses, friends, community members, we sometimes get overwhelmed with all of the needs and the expectations and the responsibilities placed on us, and we forget to take care of ourselves and invest in ourselves and set aside time to do that. And we feel like, oh, it's selfish. We may feel that parent guilt. You know, I can't give myself things because I need to give to others. But really, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we are not well equipped with what we need to give to those people that are relying on us to be grounded, to be fulfilled, and to be in a safe mental place so that we can support them as well. All right, so some myths and pitfalls. So self-improvement is not a one-time quick fix. It's not a guarantee that you will always be happy 100% of the time. Life is roses and sunshine, amazing. It's not something that you do once and you're done. And it's not something that anybody else can take responsibility for and do for you. It is something that you have to invest in for yourself. Sometimes, you know, we think, well, if I just had more money, or if I had more friends, or if I lived in this house, or this neighborhood, or this zip code, or if I could travel more. We throw these things out like, that would make my life so much better. And then we make these unreachable, unattainable goals for ourselves, and it leaves us feeling with a sense of dissatisfaction and like we're never gonna measure up to what we need to give ourselves in order to be happy. So these are some things to be aware of as we're talking about self-improvement and that topic, not to get trapped into that mindset of, you know, it's just gonna be a quick thing and then I can be done. Self-improvement really is a mindset, it's a mentality, and it's a continuation of habits that we grow in ourselves over time. So why does it matter? And I think, again, you know, we speak back to that image of the oxygen mask. It matters, obviously, when you're fulfilled and when you're taking care of yourself, you're able to give to others. But it also matters for you too. You know, it improves your own quality of life. You feel more satisfied with your relationships, with your own state of being. You have more self-confidence. A more self-confident person is going to have more success in their life, not only from their perspective, but also in the reality of their existence. It also is great for improving communication. Communication is such a huge part of our human experience, and so if we're not investing in what we need and want from others and how we're communicating that effectively, we're gonna always feel let down. It also increases the quality of our relationships. So we focus internally, right? We see the improvements in ourselves, and then we focus on how it affects those things. Again, you know, spouses, significant others, children, family members. A lot of us are caregivers for older or sick family members, and so, you know, all of these relationships can be improved when we ourselves are improving and growing. And when you are more aware of what you need and what you want, you're able to communicate that to others, so you're not left feeling let down by those people in your life that you're relying on as your support system too. Taking some of that responsibility on to understand yourself. And then we also model that happiness for our up and coming generation. You know, in education, we are on the front row getting, you know, that firsthand glimpse of the next generation of community members, of political leaders, of workers and employees in our community. We're seeing them develop from the ground up. And when they have adults around them that are living mentally healthy and emotionally healthy lives, they're gonna see that it's possible. And they're gonna see it's those little things that we do that make an impact on creating those habits of success. And they're gonna model and exemplify that in themselves as well. And that's gonna create generational success that expands beyond just your own lifetime. And so really it's leaving a legacy for the future members of our community. As we improve ourselves, we're giving them the tools and the experience that they need to see how to do that. Socrates said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom." In order to improve upon oneself, you have to first know who you are and where you're at in your life. So what I have done in the packets that I passed out is I have given you some different activities and worksheets. These are kind of reflective in nature. The first one talks about your strengths and qualities. So this is gonna just basically go over things that I'm good at, compliments I've received, what I like about my appearance, challenges I've overcome, I have helped others by, things that make me unique, what I value most, and times I've made others happy. So again, this is just a reflective time for you to kind of take some inventory on what you have, what is individual to you and your experiences and your personality that makes you who you are and gives you the strength and success that you have found so far in life. Meg Selig is a counselor and author who writes a lot for Psychology Today, and she has also written a couple books centered around mental and emotional well-being and how that relates to our overall success and happiness. And she has developed this thing called your vital signs. So similarly to how your physical vital signs give an indication of your physical health, the health of your body, These vital signs give an indication on your mental and emotional health. So the V stands for values. What are our core beliefs? What guides your decision making? And what is the key to that internal self-motivation, your intrinsic motivation? Why do you do what you do? Understanding your values is an important and essential part of knowing who you are and what makes you tick. I stands for interests, your passions, your hobbies, your focused mental state of attentiveness. What keeps your attention? What keeps you engaged? What passions do you have that give you that energy and re-energize and refuel your spirit when you need it? The T is for temperament. And this kind of speaks more to like personality tests and things that can support understanding ourselves from a different perspective. So, you know, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Am I a planner or a go with the flower? You know, I have to share a personal story. My husband and I, when we first started dating, he was a planner, 100%. He was like, okay, what are we doing today? What are we doing tonight? Where do we want to eat? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? Your sister's coming into town. Let's make an agenda, an itinerary. And I realized after partnering with someone who is a planner that I am not a planner. I am a go with the flow kind of person. And somebody pushing me to make these choices and decisions and think that far ahead was stressing me out. Yes, I was like, I don't know how to answer your questions. And it wasn't that I was trying to be difficult or indecisive. It was just that I didn't know what I was gonna be feeling in 2 hours, you know? Maybe we planned to go to the beach, but then I got really tired and I just wanted to sit on the couch. And I felt like if I made a plan, then I was obligated to fulfill it, right? And there felt that pressure. So it's important to know your style and the ways that that may cause tension and friction with other people in your life so that you can have that awareness for when those feelings of stress come up, you're like, oh, okay, I know where this is coming from. It's not just like blindsiding.
You have to be conscious of who you are. So
Exactly.
when you come across conflict, you know how to react, because just because the person is doing something, it doesn't technically mean it's towards you. That's how they are. But you have to know you in order to give a response to what's happening.
Absolutely, yeah. And it helps with patience and understanding when you not only understand yourself, but then can identify how that may be different from somebody else. That's a perfect point. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and then also, like, are you a detail-oriented person or are you a big picture kind of person, right? Sometimes we get so wrapped up in like the moment or the little things that we forget the big picture, and we can become hyper-focused on some of those negative things that are happening rather than remembering the balance of, you know, this is a problem now, but usually it's not, and I can get through it and things will get back to what I'm used to. So keeping those both perspectives, you know, a big picture person may forget to live in the moment and address things as they come up and be present. So each style has its own challenges and its own strengths, and it's important to recognize both and understand that balance. The A is around the clock, and this is about your biorhythms, and it's funny because I am definitely a night person living in a morning person's world. And I've always been that way. Even in college, you know, my professors would always say, oh, give it time, you know, once you get in a rhythm in the morning, you're gonna be fine. I've never been a morning person, even as a child. And that is actually something that is genetic, that is inherited. We are either, you know, morning people, afternoon people, night people. Our bodies' chemistry is inclined to be more energetic and active. Our brains are inclined to be more energetic and active at different times of the day. So it was helpful for me to understand I can't always fit myself into a cookie cutter of, you know, this is the schedule that society lives by, therefore I have to adhere to that. I do have to adhere to it as a professional, but I can also recognize and understand in myself that I may be more energized, or those nights where I can't fall asleep and I'm frustrated with myself for not being able to fall asleep, I'm recognizing that my chemistry is geared towards waking my brain up at night, and that's just the way that I am. So having that understanding and peace of mind to know yourself again. And finally, your life mission. what have been the most meaningful events in my life? A lot of times we invest a lot of our time and energy into our profession, the number of hours in the day that we give to working for others, working for a company, working for our children, working for our spouse, they add up to a large bulk of our life. And if we're not investing in things that we are passionate about and that inspire and energize us, then those hours are not getting balanced with, and sometimes it doesn't take a lot. You can give an 8-hour day to your job that maybe is not your like passion in life, and you can give an hour to that passion and feel a sense of balance. But it's about knowing what your passions are and then investing in them. So those are your vitals, VITALS, or VITAL, and the purpose of that is to recognize who you are and not trying to be someone that you're not, because you will always be dissatisfied if you are trying to meet a standard that isn't who you are.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
All right, so part of knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, and your skills and your talents, your strengths of character, what do you bring to the table? Where is your value, and how can you contribute to your life and improving the people around you's life? So the next little worksheet that I have in the handout here is your personal SWOT analysis worksheet. These are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Threats here meaning, what areas of growth or what are your weaknesses expose you to? So for example, if you tend to be a person that fixates more on negative things that happen, right? And a lot of us are naturally disposed to focus on negative things that happen. How does that expose you to a threat? So it may expose you to a threat because you're so focused on a negative situation that you've missed the 3 positive things that have happened since then. And that is a threat to your sense of wellness and safety. So it's really a little interesting little worksheet. It does have on the back there little guiding questions for each of those topics. And again, this is super reflective. So this topic of self-improvement, because it's so individual and so personal, it really requires honest self-reflection and self-awareness in order to really improve in those areas. And we have strengths, but we also have weaknesses, and being honest about those things that we struggle with is an important part of growth. How can we grow if we haven't identified where our struggle is?
Ms. Cook, do we turn this back to you?
Nope, that's for you.
That's for us.
That's for you to keep. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. The last thing that I wanted to share about the packet, and this is a little bit longer. So again, you're taking these home so that you can take your own time to kind of reflect and work through it. But the last one is a communication style self-assessment exercise. And this is a series of about 80 choices. So each choice is paired. And you make a choice, you circle one that you want or that you prefer, and then it gives you a score at the end, and then it explains your different communication styles. So for someone
This is going to be interesting.
yeah, right? So for someone who is, an energizer, you're direct, you're fast-paced, and you're results-oriented, your communication style is going to be focused on certain things. Whereas someone who is indirect, slow-paced, may not match your level of energy, and that may frustrate you, right? Like if you're trying to communicate something to someone and they're just not matching you, you may be like, why don't you care about this as much as me? They may just not be on your level as far as your energy and passion, but they may care inside just as much. So I know in relationships that can be troublesome when one partner is exhibiting a lot of passion and the other one seems passive. And that can frustrate us when we feel our spouse or our partner is not meeting us where we are at. I think we've all experienced that at times. So that's just another little tool to kind of understand yourself.
I love it.
In a new way.
I love it. I remember the last time I took one of those.
Yeah.
I think it was probably 20 years ago.
Absolutely. And you know what? Things change.
Yeah, a lot changes. Older now, more mature, and you want to be able to know exactly, because sometimes you think you know yourself, but when you actually boil it down to this, it gives you a little perspective of things.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times, at least in my experience, we get a lot of this focus on knowing ourselves and understanding ourselves when we're like high school, college, because we're trying to make those future decisions. But so much changes, and your priorities change so much from the time that you're, you know, a young 20-year-old to the time that you're a middle-aged adult with your own new responsibilities, mortgage, you know, rent, you know, all these job, family responsibilities. There's so much that changes in our lives. So it is important to check in occasionally here and there with like, am I still the same? What's changed in my life? Children is a huge change.
They change us.
Absolutely. You learn things about yourself you never knew.
Thought. Patience is one of them.
And like how much like your parents you maybe are.
Oh yeah, I
you
said that to my son
expect.
the other day. I think I'm more like my parents right now. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So it is important to like kind of recheck in on those things, absolutely. All right, what I'm gonna do now is play a little video here. This is from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So they did some research, and basically this is called the 8 Dimensions of Wellness. I'm gonna let the video take over to kind of educate us on what exactly that is.
The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, created the Wellness Initiative to help people with mental and/or substance use disorders and all people live longer, healthier lives by focusing on the 8 dimensions of wellness that connect all aspects of behavioral health. Improving wellness by taking action on each of these dimensions addresses early mortality from treatable and preventable conditions. Embracing wellness is about life and living and becoming the healthiest you possible. Listen to your feelings, express them to people you trust, and maintain a positive outlook. Make it a point to understand your finances, establish good financial habits, and plan for the future. A sense of belonging and a reliable support system help during difficult times. Make at least one social connection daily. Seek advice from peers or support groups. And create healthy friendships. Enhancing your connection to self, nature, and others brings balance and peace to your life. Take time to discover what values and beliefs are most important to you. Look for satisfaction from things you're passionate about, whether it is through work, school, or volunteering. Reduce your risk of many illnesses by increasing activity levels according to your abilities, getting restful sleep at night, choosing healthy foods, and exploring outdoors to reduce stress and increase energy levels. Be a lifelong learner by expanding your knowledge and finding creative outlets that stimulate your mind and sense of curiosity. Be open to new ideas, insights, and wisdom. A positive environment has a calming effect. Find surroundings that encourage good physical and mental health, and where you also feel safe. At SAMHSA, we envision a future in which people with mental and/or substance use disorders and all people pursue optimal health, happiness, recovery, and a full and satisfying life in the community. Wellness is an ongoing pursuit and can be challenging at times, but striving to make small daily improvements is the key to success. For more information and resources about wellness, visit www.samhsa.gov/wellness-initiative.
All right. So there's a lot to unpack from that video. It's like a 2.5-minute video, but they throw a lot of information at you, and they talk about these 8 wellness dimensions pretty quickly. So what I've done here is I've broken down those 8 dimensions of wellness to kind of chew on it a little bit more. So we've got our emotional bucket that we need to fill into. You know, part of knowing yourself is knowing your feelings, knowing your needs, but then being able to express them. A lot of the old school mentality is, you know, bottle up those feelings, don't let them show, don't show your weakness or your emotional side. And really that counters what research and science knows to be true, which is it harms your mental and emotional well-being when you don't express those feelings. And it may be that you may be feeling unbalanced or irrational in a moment, but even still expressing that frustration or a sadness or feeling can expel it and release it. And that's when you can start to heal and balance out. So really understanding, expressing your feelings and knowing that you're speaking to a trusted person, not somebody who is like an acquaintance and doesn't know you and can't differentiate between, you know, what's really important and what is maybe just you venting. And that can be something that takes a while to understand about somebody. So, you know, just being able to express your feelings, recognize what they are, and then move on from them is a huge part of emotional health. Financial health is a tough one. Our economy is tough. COVID has exposed, you know, a lot of those challenges and struggles that a lot of us already knew to exist. And I know from working in a two-parent working home, the challenge is real and the struggle is real. Getting time and money, it's like the never-ending battle. So instead of just kind of shoving that away as something that you don't want to deal with, it's important to really dive into that and kind of understand more. What are your financial goals? Where are you at now, and where do you want to be, and how do you get there? And creating a realistic plan for yourself. You know, humans are social beings. We need each other. This idea that we can be isolationists and like not rely on family, friends, neighbors, community is fallible. It does not support, it's not supported by the reality. And so we need to have those social supports in place for when we're feeling overwhelmed, and we need those lifelines. Our spiritual side is another area that is so individual and it's so personal to everybody. And I think the important thing is that you're connected to your inner spirit, your inner self, your inner voice, and your external higher power, right? And however you believe or feel about those things, that you're at least investing in them in some manner. That's an important part of who we are and what we need. Occupational, this is obviously somewhat limited. We can't control everything that happens at our job, or you know, our bosses, we can't get the raises every time we want them, or the promotions every time we want them, but understanding what aligns with your passions and what fulfills you about your job and what maybe doesn't, what is challenging for you. And on those days where things are more challenging, having that awareness and understanding to say, today was a rough day, I understand that, I'm not gonna take that out on my family or my friends, but I'm gonna recognize that I may need, you know, some additional support from a rough day at work. And having goals, you know, if you're really unhappy and it's becoming a pattern, having some tough conversations about what do I need to do to improve that. Your physical health and well-being, this is again very individual. Some people may be limited in their physical mobility. Some people may, you know, prefer indoor activities to outdoor activities, but at the end of the day, if you're investing time in your physical health, getting up and moving, getting, you know, 10 minutes of sunshine a day is like what doctors recommend. So just doing those little things that can support your physical health as well is a huge part of your mental and emotional well-being as well. Intellectual, how are we improving on ourselves? Reading books, articles, magazines, you know, watching documentaries of real life events, anything. Podcasts is another, you know, avenue that people use to improve their knowledge and understanding of things. What I think about with intellectual is there are experts in their field who have been studying their topics for their entire lifetime, and they will tell you that they do not know anything, right? No one person can live a lifetime and know everything. So there's always a topic or a subject or an experience that we can learn from and grow from. And so looking for those opportunities to learn something new every day, I think is just an important part of your emotional and mental health. And then environmental, making sure that you feel safe, emotionally, physically, mentally. And if your physical environment is not a safe place, reaching out to the supports that you need to get safe. All right, so I'm gonna read this for the good of everybody on the digital platform. Understanding who you are and what motivates you are the first steps to improving your quality of life. Self-improvement is not a single step or one-size-fits-all process. Although there are 8 common areas in which we can all increase wellness, the things we do, the actions we take, and the words we change will be different for each of us. Create a plan that you can stick to, be patient with yourself, and share your plan with someone who will keep you accountable in a loving way. So the last piece that I have in my handout here is another self-reflection tool that takes you through the 8 dimensions of wellness. And it says at the top, resilient strategies for educators, but really this is for anybody. And this is what we call a self-care action plan. So it breaks down each of those 8 areas, you know, physical, financial, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, all of those things. And it asks you to identify areas where you would like to improve in each category. And again, that's going to be different for everybody. Someone may be really physically active, but they have neglected their social connections, right? Someone may be really invested in their own feelings, but they're not great at expressing them. So it's all about you and what you feel you do well, and what areas you think that you can improve on yourself. And again, that is a self-reflective tool that you can take home and look over at your convenience. All right, and the final slide that I have here is additional resources. So headspace.com, for those of you who are staff members, you have a free account already through CSUSA with headspace.com, and they're awesome. They'll send you little daily emails or reminders checking in on, you know, your wellness. They'll send you articles and just pieces of information that help you invest in yourself and your well-being. But anybody can go to headspace.com, create an account. I believe they have free accounts with some tools and materials available to you. The National Institute of Mental Health, or NIMH, is a governmental program that has a lot of great resources and evidence-based and science-based practices and recommendations for improving overall health. And then Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, was what the agency that produced that video that I showed. They have a lot of great resources on their website as well. And if you want to dive further into that knowing yourself and understanding who you are, I did include a couple websites where there are personality tests and also strength tests. So high5test.com, 5 is the number, is going to give you some of those strengths tests. And then psychcentral.com has a personality test that you can take. And if you Google personality test, you'll find all kinds. You know, the Myers-Briggs, go-to standard one. A lot of them are scale ratings, so you go like 1 to 5, I identify with this or I don't. But there's so many tools out there to know yourself, to understand yourself, to invest in yourself. And I think that video said it best. You don't have to overhaul your whole life or focus so much on it that you neglect your responsibilities, but it's just taking small moments throughout the day to focus on yourself, focus on how to invest in yourself, and taking those moments to reflect and think about where you're at, what you need, and how you're going to get it. So that was our conversation on self-improvement. I hope that you took at least one thing away that was new or interesting to you. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is on our website, Mrs. Cook. And I look forward to seeing more of you at our next ParentConnect class, which will be next week, and we'll be talking about suicide prevention because it is Suicide Awareness Month as well in September, and that is an important topic that we are going to address next week. So thank you guys.